But first to some shocking news in Queensland, where a 63-year-old woman is recovering from a callous stabbing attack in a supermarket. Let's get straight to Georgie Chumley, who's in Ipswich, west of Brisbane. Georgie, morning to you. Police say she was attacked by a teenager there.
Good morning, Eddie. As you said, absolutely shocking news. A 13-year-old boy has been arrested by police after allegedly stabbing a 63-year-old woman while she was at work, working at Coles. Now, what we do know is that yesterday afternoon, just before 5:30, this attack allegedly took place. The shopping centre was placed into lockdown as dozens of horrified onlookers watched on. Now, the boy fled the scene, but he was arrested by police a short time later. Meanwhile, the 63-year-old woman, she was raced to the PA hospital. She is in a critical but stable condition this morning, and we understand that she's undergone surgery overnight. Now, after 7 News broke this story, hundreds of people have taken to commenting online, saying how horrific this is, how shocked they are, as well as calling on the government to use those adult crime, adult time laws that were put in place around a month ago, which means that minimum sentences for young offenders are increased. Now, that 13-year-old boy, he is still being questioned by police at this stage. We understand no charges have been laid. We are expecting an update from that throughout this morning, but we are expecting that police will also hold a press conference later today.
Yeah, we just had David Christofouli, the Premier, on yesterday touting those new strike forces for youth crime, but 13 years old. Thank you, Georgie.
To our other top story today, Nick Kyrgios has dropped a retirement bombshell overnight, saying he fears he's played his last singles match at the Australian Open. Live to Mark Beretta at Melbourne Park, and Barrett's the star crashed out in the first round.
Yeah, it was tough, David. Look, he really fought hard, but you could see from the very start, it wasn't the Nick Kyrgios that we've known from years gone by. About midway through the first set, he started clutching his abdomen, and we know that he's had problems with abdomen injuries. Of course, the wrist has kept him out for about 2.5 years, but his comeback last night to the Australian Open may well be the last time we see him here. A Grand Slam comeback, 2.5 years in the making, over after less than 2.5 hours.
Honestly, the reason I kept playing and tried to play tonight was because of the fans.
Years of injury agony catching up to Nick Kyrgios and a grim realisation.
And realistically, I can't really see myself probably playing singles again here.
The ab injury, picked up just before the Australian Open, neutralised Nick's famous serve, along with 18 months of rehabbing from a wrist injury.
Yeah, it's just not enjoyable for me. Like, it's not enjoyable to go out there and not think tactically and not think, you know, I'm enjoying the atmosphere.
Wincing through the pain, there were flashes of his old self. But those days are now long gone.
It's hard when you're competing for the biggest tournaments in the world and you're struggling to win sets physically. It's pretty tough.
Kyrgios still plans to play in the doubles with great mate Thanasi Kokkinakis, who fought his own injuries to win.
Just another one of my stupid long matches. I could barely sleep last night. A lot of anxiety coming out here. Yeah, as much as Nick battled through the pain, there were signs of his brilliance. He has some magnificent serves in there. He's still got that power, high-speed serve. And he is still one of the most popular players with the fans here at the Australian Open. The crowd he had here in John Cain Arena last night was just going berserk. They love him. And they'll miss him. Australian tennis will miss him if he doesn't play again in Grand Slam singles, guys.
Yes, they certainly will. Of course, as you say, he's still got the doubles to go, but very sad for the competition that he's now been bundled out.
And such a character too, Brett, isn't he? And then when your body betrays you when you've still got so much to give to the sport, that is a real shame.
Sad.
Thanks for that.
All right, let's get some more news now. Here's Angie.
Thank you, David. To some breaking news in Sydney's West now, and a man is on the run after crashing a stolen rideshare vehicle taken in Macquarie Fields this morning. Now, it's understood the carjacking happened just after 4 o'clock at a car wash. That car was found around half an hour later after crashing on Copperfield Drive in Ambervale. It's understood one woman has been injured in that crash. We'll bring you more details as they do come into the newsroom. Urgent preparations are being made in the Los Angeles fire zones ahead of the arrival of the dangerous Santa Ana winds. Live to US correspondent Miley Hogan, who's in Altadena, one of the worst hit areas. Miley, there has been a huge effort to contain fire fronts and ready resources.
Angie, firefighters are at a really critical stage of their fight against those major blazes. They have managed to make progress over the last few days with more favourable conditions. But now those Santa Ana winds are forecast to make a comeback and threaten their progress. Those winds are expected to pick up later this evening and are forecast to be in excess of 100 kilometres an hour. They are forecast to linger until around Wednesday, keeping that fire danger high. Authorities are trying to get ahead of that threat. They are now strategically placing firefighters in different areas around the city in case new fires start or those current flames jump those containment lines and make a run. This is what the fire sheriff had to say a little bit earlier this morning.
Please be assured that all fire departments and all law enforcement agencies in the area will be prepared. The anticipated winds, combined with low humidities and low fuel moistures, will keep the fire threat in all of Los Angeles County critical.
There are new reports this morning about the possible cause of the deadly Palisades fire. There are concerns that it may have started from another fire that was extinguished on New Year's Day that later reignited. Locals say that original fire started by fireworks. That is one line of investigation by officials. They have not given an official cause yet. They are asking people to be patient with them as they continue this investigation. And of course, as they move through this incredible mess, they are still searching for people that are missing, and the death toll now sits at 24, but authorities do fear that that number will rise. Angie.
Thanks very much, Miley. To some more breaking news now, and Japan has been hit with a tsunami warning after a major earthquake off the country's southwest coast. The magnitude 6.8 tremor hit at 9:19 local time, causing shaking so strong it was difficult to stand nearby for about 30 seconds. Local media has reported no immediate injuries. WA police are today investigating a shocking highway crash near Perth Airport that claimed the lives of 3 innocent people. Police say a driver made the deliberate and deadly decision to drive on the wrong side of the busy Leach Highway, hitting a taxi early yesterday morning. The 58-year-old male taxi driver and his 2 female passengers, aged 56 and 81, could not be saved. The driver of the car that hit them, who is still yet to be formally identified, also died in the crash. Police in Victoria have launched a new appeal for information on a 40-year-old cold case. 82-year-old Jessie Lauder was sexually assaulted in her Newport home twice between September 1981 and July 1983. The offender broke into her home and threatened her with a knife. He was described at the time as a man aged between 20 and 30 years old, with a fair complexion, dark hair and an Australian accent. He was wearing gloves, a beanie and work boots. To some breaking news in Adelaide, and detectives are investigating a suspicious death after a body was found west of the CBD. Let's go live to Hayden Nelson now. Hayden, what do police know so far?
Angie, this is an extensive crime scene here in Cowandilla, west of the CBD. As you say, this entire street, Harley Street, has been shut down as CSI goes in and out of a house trying to see what has occurred here in the early hours of this morning. Police and paramedics were called here about 2 o'clock this morning. It's understood a body has been found in the house. We don't know if anyone is in custody at this stage. We don't know if police are searching for anyone, but as I said, there is an extensive crime scene here and we are expecting to get an update from police in the next few minutes. Angie.
All right, thank you very much, Hayden. Queensland police are hunting a gang of 5 armed attackers after a shocking road rage attack and assault outside Dreamworld on the Gold Coast. Police say a crash between 2 cars near the entrance to their theme park sparked an altercation yesterday afternoon. An occupant of one car was reportedly attacked with baseball bats and hammers. That victim suffered serious injuries and another person was treated for injuries from the crash. At this stage, nobody has been arrested. Tennis fans have been warned not to bring certain flags to the Australian Open, with the tournament's boss warning anyone breaching those rules will be kicked out and turned over to police. Let's go live to Tegan Doling in Melbourne. Tegan, flags from Russia, Israel and Belarus are going to be banned.
Yeah, and this is all due to the political unrest overseas too. Police want to try and stop, as well as the tournament organisers, any sort of issues inside the Australian Open this year. As you said, Angie, it's the Belarusian and the Russian flags that have been banned now for the third year in a row, and the players from those countries are actually having to play under a plain blue flag instead. For the first time, the Israeli flag will only be allowed into a tennis park down here when there is a player playing from that country. There isn't any in the two main draws, the women's and the men's, but there is, however, a man playing in the wheelchair championship. That's not until next week, though. As we know, last year there were protests here at the tennis. There was the pamphlets, the anti-war pamphlets from a pro-Palestine protester that were thrown over Margaret Court Arena during one of the men's games. A bit of backlash too there, just in regards to security and perhaps how slow they were to react, but organisers tell me, Angie, that they are very much ready if there are any sort of repeats like this again this year.
Thank you, Tegan. The royal family's finances are back in the spotlight thanks to a record pay increase to the sovereign grant funded by British taxpayers. Live to Joel Dry in London. Joel, how much more money are they going to get?
It's a good little increase, Angie. It is £45 million extra will be paid via the sovereign grant to the royal family, taking the total paycheck to over £130 million. This sovereign grant is used to pay for things like the upkeep of properties, paying household staff, hosting events and that sort of thing. But it is a large increase, and that is largely due to the fact that there's some expected renovations of Buckingham Palace due to take place. That sovereign grant is calculated as a percentage of the profits that are made from the royal estate. So some people, royal fans, will tell you that as an institution, they are a profit-making venture. But it begs the question, who is the richest? Well, we have a leaderboard for you. And surprisingly, at the top is Prince William, 2.08 billion Australian dollars. Following that is King Charles at $1.78 billion. And then Princess Anne, Harry and Meghan, and Princess Kate. Now, the two top, William and Charles, they get most of their money from the duchies of Cornwall and Lancaster. These are huge private property holdings that belong to each individual, and they make profits by charging things like rent. Now, it is important to point out this is an estimate. Some experts have put together what they think their personal wealths are, but even if they're off by a couple of million pounds, they're on a pretty good wicket.
Yeah, give or take, it's still not bad. Thank you very much, Joel.